This is Prior Stanislaw at St. Leo Abbey, and we're going to be talking about the perfect being. So, do you believe it is necessary that God, the perfect being, He exists? Do you think it's necessary that God exists?
Do I think it's necessary that God exists? Well, obviously, I think it's necessary that God exists. We just have to look around, see the world that God created, and the people He created in His image. And God is the divine mover. He keeps things in motion.
All right. So, you're familiar with Saint Anselm.
Yes.
All right. In his, how do you feel about his ontological argument for the existence of the perfect being?
I think Saint Anselm is extraordinary, and I think over the years we've had other theologians that have somewhat built on that, and we will continue to have theologians which will define even clearer who God is, but we can never totally have God in a box, because then we would be in control of God, and that's not going to happen.
Mm-hmm. So, Anselm defines God as the perfect being, and so talking about classical theism, God is perfectly loving and good and benevolent. How do you deal with the problem of evil if God is a perfect being? If God does exist, then why does He allow evil to persist in the world?
God really isn't responsible, if you will, for the evil that happens around us. Now, back that up. I think we too easily like to blame, let's say, the devil for our actions instead of us taking the responsibility. God's given us free will, and by doing that, it shows how much God loves us. And so the free will, by free will, we either accept God or we don't. And He's not going to step in and start to manipulate our lives or our world. And so that's why evil is there.
Mm-hmm. All right, so a philosopher, atheist named Rowe gives an example of different types of evil. So he could understand the theodicy of humanity being evil, and the Garden of Eden myth and all those things can explain that away. But he doesn't. He gives the example of a deer in the woods as a fawn, and lightning hits a tree and kills the deer, but just doesn't kill it instantly. Sets everything on fire, gets scalded to death, just sits there for days. And he says, Rowe says, he doesn't understand how God can exist if He allows things like that to happen. How do you respond to that argument?
That would be what we would call natural law. And those things happen. And see, we have to be careful. It's so easy to put everything on God. And that's wrong. We know that God is not going to manipulate His creation.
So how do you if so Rowe might say something in response like the God manipulated the Red Sea. How do you deal with that?
Correct. Well, that was a miracle, but it was used when the people needed it to be parted.
Mm-hmm.
And so when the people needed the Red Sea to be low, it was, and they passed through.
So, is evil something that's necessary in the plan of God?
Oh, I don't think it was in the plan of God. What happened was that you have to remember, when the angels chose to sin, and I say they chose to sin, unlike us, who, due to the fall of humankind, Adam and Eve, we have this, unfortunately, this inclination. We don't even think about it sometimes. But the angels had to specifically choose to sin, and that's what makes it so serious. And that's why Satan was banned from, thrown out of the kingdom of heaven.
All right. So dealing with the existence of God and all these things, in the realm of epistemology, do you believe that one does not have to have arguments for the existence of God? Is it something that's more innate, as Thomas Aquinas and Calvin say, or is it something like Kierkegaard, where it's about the interior person, not the...
Well, I go along with St. Thomas Aquinas and Calvin, and there is something that we are just born with, if you'll notice. That it's not learned. It's there from the very, very beginning.
How is that so?
How is that so? Well, for example, maybe we could use our conscience, if you will. There's that little voice that it tells people what's right and wrong. It's just a natural inclination.
Okay. Thanks.